So welcome everyone to the Evolving Charts Ecosystem presentation. And I am Daniel Cothran. I'm a technical advisor and Drupal portfolio manager at John Snow Incorporated. And I'm also the charts module maintainer. Nia?
Yeah, I am Nia Katoni. I'm an analyst at the University of Guelph, and I also work with Daniel on some various projects, which includes the chart module.
So the ecosystem concept came about in 2011 as an issue on Drupal.org. And basically the idea is that maintainers can edit their project pages and assign their module an ecosystem when their module is primarily intended to enhance another module on Drupal.org. And you can find which modules are part of an ecosystem by adding /ecosystem at the end of a Drupal.org project URL. So for example, drupal.org/project/charts/ecosystem. So for this presentation, we're expanding the definition of ecosystem a little bit. As an organizing principle on Drupal.org, we love how the ecosystem concept works. But for us, we think it's also important to include the modules that charts interfaces with or enhances, such as commerce, layout builder, views, web form. And we also think it's important to include third-party charting providers that actually generate the charts. So why are we talking about this today? Well, charts is for data viz, but data viz is a whole field of study, and we could never have the charts module by itself handling all the different use cases that people might have. The charts module is built to be extended. It has 5 charting libraries that are incorporated as submodules, and you can create your own charting library submodule for charts. We also wanted to make sure that users of the charts modules can find other modules that will help them with their different use cases. And we also wanted to encourage contribution to the charts ecosystem as well as other ecosystems on Drupal. Now that we've introduced the concept a little bit, we wanted to run through some demos where we show how different modules can enhance and contribute to the charts module. So for the first one, we've categorized this as modules for manipulating data. And we're including in this demo views cumulative field, views simple math field, and views fields on off. And so to start this up, on my demo site, I created a content type called training data. And I added some fields to that content type, 2 numeric fields, one for the number of attendees and the number of coaches, and then a list field for the location of the training event. And then I created a few nodes of that content type. So we have a little pre-recorded video of this, and I'll just talk you through what's happening. So to start off with, I'm going to create a view. And this views is often the way that I use the charts module. In this case, the view is I'm going to call it the training data demo for DrupalCon Europe. And this will be of content of the type training data. And in this case, I'm going to create a page. I recommend with charts that you start off with an unformatted list of fields because the charts display needs a data field, which won't usually be available when you first create your view. And with this one, I didn't need a pager because there's only 4 nodes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the fields from my content type training data. There were 3 of them that are important: attendees, coaches, and location. One thing I always recommend for charts is you create a label for the fields that you're going to plot so that that label can be used in your charts legend. So that was for attendees. This one is for coaches. And then location. And when I was creating the demo, I hesitated on this one a bit. I decided to exclude it from display, and then I'm going to rearrange the fields so that location is before title. And then in the title field, I'm going to add the location onto the end of the title using the replacement patterns. So I'm just grabbing the twig token and then rewriting the results here. So it's title followed by the location in parentheses. And when I preview this, you can see training event 4, for example, took place in Europe, had 56 attendees and 2 coaches. So now I can change my display to a chart. And I decided to use high charts for this and align display. The label field is your x-axis label. And then this table shows you which fields you can select for your y-axis. In this case, I just want to show attendees to start off with. Then I'm going to add some configuration. So I want to include a chart title. This is actually part of the JavaScript chart that's generated. And so I placed my legend, and then I'm also adding labels for the X and Y axes. So as soon as I apply this and then scroll down to preview, you can see a chart's already been created, but I'm noticing that Europe and Canada and US, those locations are on the horizontal axis. It means I selected the wrong label field. So I'm switching it to title. And now when I preview it, this is what I was expecting. So now we're going to get into the other modules. So the first thing is I'm going to add a simple math field. This field coming from the View Simple Math Field module allows you to create formulas within your view. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the value of the coaches field, divide it by the value of the attendees field, and multiply it by 100 to get a percent. And then I realized I wanted to put a label on this, so just going to call it percent. Once you've added a field, then you still need to go back to your chart settings and then add that field to your chart. So just picking a color for that now. And after I apply, it's available down below. So you can see there's the percent there, and then the number in the green line. So that was View Simple Math field. Now I'm going to add View's cumulative field. So with this field, it allows you to select a field that you want a cumulative value to be generated for. So in this case, I want the number of attendees to be shown over time. So if I have 4 events, by the 4th event, I want to see what the total number is. And again, I have to add this field into the charts. So that one I'm going to create as a purple line. And so now when I scroll down, you can see each event has about 50 participants. So altogether, it's around 200. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to include a views field on/off field, which it took me a while to remember what I was doing here. But this is a views field handler that works like an exposed filter. So you'll see this how it works in a second, but I'm adding the field. And then the fields there, you can select which fields you want the view to display. And down below, you can also see the exposed selection field type. So you can make it checkboxes, radios, single or multi-select. This one I'm not adding to the chart, and Ajax is helpful for it, I think. Now you can see up in the exposed filter section that field shows up. And if I click just show attendees, then it only shows the attendees. The other 2 lines disappear. And if I select others, they show up as well. So now I'm going to actually add an exposed filter for the location field. which was a list type field. And so I'm exposing it and applying. So now in the exposed filter section, we have the use field on, off, and the location. If I filter it for Europe and apply, it goes down to the 2 events that were both created in Europe. So that's the demo for that one. And I'm going to turn it over to Nia to demo the integration with commerce.
So at this point, on this one, I actually started using the module API to render the integration with Drupal Commerce. And then I quite realized that most of the default Drupal Commerce reports are actually using views, where I went and directly created the views attachment instead of using the code, which actually pretty make it easier. And then so like if you check the settings, I created a column using the Google Charts library, and then choose the one field which was the number of purchase, which was already like something with most of these fields come default when you install Drupal Commerce reports. So if you have orders, you will just have to add this attachment with the same settings as the normal page and attach it to page. And for example, you can also select to inherit all the filters which going to be applied to that view. Then from here, if you view again, for example, the sales, it also comes, I choose to go with the daily sales, which had some view data. And it was also the same approach, where again, I went with views, created a chart daily attachment. And then this also, there was existing data. I didn't change anything. And like at some point I say, yeah, let me just change maybe the chart type settings, which was like I choose this character one. And I left most of the settings to be default, and it's created like this character chart. And then after this, I made sure that it was attached to daily chart. And from there, you can see that it's just this. Probably so, like I think if we can say one of the main good things with charts, it has many good points which make it easier to use and to integrate it with even your existing data without you having to create, for example, like as the previous demo by Daniel, where you had to create the content type, which is good if you have some particular use case. But with this case, we just demonstrate that with even Drupal Commerce, you can just add it as to your ecosystem of modules, and it's gonna work out of the box without you writing any code. I'm gonna pass it back to Daniel.
Thanks, Nia. The next demo that we have, I described it as modules for research, and this one includes the web form module, web form views module, and layout builder. So to start this one off, I created a web form that I called DrupalCon Europe demo survey. It only has 2 different questions. One is to rate the session, and then another one is, would you recommend this session? It's a yes or no question. And another video for you. So with this one, I have a content type that uses layout builder, and it's set up so that every individual node can have its own layout. And so what I did here was I just went in and added a block, searched for web form, added it, was a little bit confused for a second, and figured out then that I needed to that the web form field here was an autocomplete So as soon as I figured that out, this was easy. Selected the DrupalCon Europe demo survey that I created and added the block. So you can see that previewed there. Then I decided to add a section of 2 columns. And once I added this section, then I added a view that I created. So I created a demo survey data view with 2 displays. And so I'm adding the first display, which is a pie chart of the ratings provided by the attendees. And then I have a second one that I created that is whether or not users or attendees recommended the presentation. So saving my layout. And you can see I've just very quickly created a sort of dashboard. So you see the ratings and recommendation there. And then if I actually complete the form again, so you can see that 4-star rating is 40% below. And when I submit this form and then return back to the page, the data are refreshed. And you can see now instead of 40%, it's 50% gave the presentation a 4-star rating. So as you can see, that was extremely easy. And I'm sure you can think of lots of different use cases for something like that. Okay. Yeah, so you've seen the presentation now, and you may be thinking, well, how can I join the charts ecosystem? One way is that if you are a module maintainer, you can add your module project to the charts ecosystem, or you can create a ticket so that the maintainer of the module adds charts as the ecosystem for that module. You can also support charts ecosystem modules, especially documentation. Some of the ones that we listed, it'd be great if someone wrote up some documentation about how this integration can happen. And it's also great if you have the skills to contribute to some of the open source charting libraries that the charts module uses, such as chart.js, billboard.js, and c3.js. And then we've provided some links. So there's a link to the charts ecosystem on Drupal.org. There's an open collective that supports development of the charts ecosystem modules. And then the 3 open source third-party charting libraries I mentioned, the GitHub links are there. And if you're interested in charts, there's a MidCamp 2020 presentation on creating charts without having to do any coding. So thank you for your interest, and we're happy to take questions at this point.
Okay, thank you very much, Daniel and Nia. We do have one question from Micah. Is there a concept to handle security coverage for third-party libraries via Composer? And presumably that's using Composer to pull them in. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, that's a great question. We are trying to stay on top of updates for when there are updates to any of those. It would be great. We don't really have a great mechanism for keeping those up to date. The charts module itself recommends specific versions, but you can use Composer to update the libraries that you use for charts at any point. We also recommend that if you see any security issues for those, that you create a security ticket for it, and then we would issue a Drupal security update for the charts module.
I would actually suggest if you want some ideas of what's possible, at least I can't say good practice or not, but I think it's good. The web form module does quite a lot in that regard, including a drush command that automatically spits out the relevant things to add to a composer.json to add your charts in, sorry, your libraries in. So
Yeah.
have a look at web form basically.
Thank you.